I'm present.
Beautiful. Thank you for being present. You know, thank you for just giving your presence today. And you're in like you said, it's evening time, so you're in Bangkok?
Yes, I'm in Bangkok, Thailand. So it's crazy when I realized that we have a 14-hour difference because you're in California right now, right?
No, so at the moment I'm back in Texas. So I'm back in Texas, so it might be like a 12-hour difference here in
Mm.
Texas. It's only because 2 hours before in California where I was just recently we had a retreat over there. But I've never been to Bangkok. I've never even been to Thailand. So how long have you been in Thailand, Nadia?
I've been in Thailand now since, to be exact, like 13th of January. So a little bit more than 6 months now. Because my main reason that I came here, I'm originally based in the Netherlands, Holland. But I came here to receive treatment. I don't know if you saw my whole page about my healing journey, which was mainly the skin condition that I was struggling with for a long time, like 5+ years, which started as eczema, but I applied and used a lot of steroid creams, which make the skin barrier very weak and thin. And therefore, I reacted to a lot of external things, internal I needed to heal. So I really needed this certain treatment that is very specialized or specific for this particular condition. And there are just 3 clinics worldwide, and it was in Singapore, England, which is way more expensive and had a long waiting list, and then Bangkok with the original doctor, dermatologist. So yeah, through social media and Facebook groups, I saw it as my last hope or chance, and I just followed my intuition to get well after 5 years of being very sick, actually. So it really helped because my skin is totally normal now. It's crazy.
Amazing, amazing. So what was it like that had the transformation? Like what was it that gave you that? Was it that clinic in Bangkok?
That is the main part of, I do believe I really needed that because I was struggling with specific symptoms like a fungal infection in the neck area.
Mm.
And I didn't know that. And also the doctors back home, they don't recognize this condition because it's not like just a skin rash. It's caused by medical medications, by steroid creams that we apply for eczema, psoriasis, like steroids within the cream. So if you apply that, you get actually you damage not only the internal organs but also the whole skin barrier, and therefore you get crazy flare-ups, burning sensations, all kinds of actually detoxification symptoms as well. But so I could not function. I was always bleeding or itching or oozing. Like it was crazy. I needed to change my whole life, and I'm happy that I came here because yeah.
Wow, wow. So for someone who hasn't experienced that level of, just pain, just the sensation of just complete discomfort all the time, constantly, for 5 years of going through that, like, what does it feel like now to be rid of that? Like, what does it feel like now to have this liberation, you
Mhm.
know?
I know when you have physical ailments, especially when you have it for a long term, like long time, we become identified, like it's become our identity, especially with skin issues, because it's very visible, you can see it. So, yeah, how it feels right now, I feel like I'm coming out of this survival state. So I'm still focusing on regain, like being in, calming my nervous system and doing meditations. I know you have a hard time meditating of doing all those healing modalities, but you constantly are in this inflammatory state. Your body's always in this yeah, fight or flight mode. So for me, it was very hard to do like meditation. I couldn't take a shower. I could not um, uh, exercising because sweating will make the symptoms worse. So a lot of things with skin condition that you cannot do, which, yeah, it is For me, it's just being very present at this time in my life and entering a new chapter. And the mind needs to follow. So I'm very aware of my thought patterns, my limited beliefs, not thinking, oh, I have the skin problem anymore. It's just weird. It's a lot of talking, but it's just weird to not have pain for a
It's
day. No pain, no itchiness. If you
right.
are itchy, it's different than pain. People say it's worse than pain because you're always, it's very intense feeling when you are like having a feeling of ants and mosquitoes crawling out like a bone deep itch with this condition. It's, you cannot function, you cannot live your life, you cannot feel joy. It's very, yeah, to be honest,
Yeah.
it's very hard.
Yeah, no, thank you for just, just your honesty and transparency of like the way that that actually feels for somebody who hasn't had that experience and hasn't gone through that agony, that turmoil of just that constant pain. Like you said you couldn't take showers, you couldn't exercise, and you couldn't even meditate. So you're saying there was no like relaxation, it was just constant complication.
The body is just always, you feel like you're a prisoner in your own body because now you say, oh, there's nothing wrong with her. But it was at times when it was very severe, I would actually put like bandages, or I would put, because it would also ooze like this sort of leaking plasma because the skin very so weakened. So during flare-ups, let's say you have an irritation like pet hair or chemicals or something that can a normal skin barrier, a normal person with normal skin can tolerate that, but I would get very bad, severe burning flare-ups. I don't want to compare it to a burning victim, but it's not just eczema or rash. It's very intense. So when I had those times or days or actually long periods for months or weeks, I would just lay down and try to meditate. You know, I started to get visions, and that's where my healing journal awakenings. I mean, you have your own journey based on your profile. I saw a lot of similarities. Like, if you know, you get a lot of different views about life, and because everything falls away, like you cannot wear makeup, like all the, you don't do the things like consume stuff. So you become very in this inner, you start to do the inner work. You don't have your physical appearance anymore. So you start to go within the soul, it's very, I took the time to actually confront all my fears and embrace the imperfections and see that the most beautiful, precious thing is our having a genuine, I say it, being authentic, and that's what really was a big part in my eating journey. Embracing the thing with no makeup, no beautiful dresses. Especially as a girl, you want to feel pretty, and then you don't recognize yourself. You see very sick, you lose weight, you get very weak. But then the strength that you get from within with this journey is so precious. And I now take it my whole life. I inspire so many people just by being myself and share vulnerability. And that's such a blessing actually for me
Yeah.
to provide for other people, be at service. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm glad that you feel that way too, because even as you're expressing right now, authentically just being vulnerable right now with your experience, you're helping people that, we don't even realize who we're helping when we speak our truth, when we talk our message, when we just tell our story, we don't know whose lives are being affected. So when you started, Nediya, seeing those visions, like seeing those things like that are beyond the veil, like really tuning into yourself at a cellular level, going deep within. What were some of the things that were the most profound for you that kind of blew you away, that just took you into a whole new mode of reality?
mm, that's so interesting because I discovered so many parts of myself. But first, like I said, embrace the imperfections. Of course, with the skin is very visible. So a lot of people that struggle with skin conditions also have, not all the time, but like low self-worth or low self-esteem. And I don't know if you're familiar with Louise Hay, with the book You Can Heal Your Life.
Hmm.
But I'm now recently doing all those affirmations every day again, and that's also why I'm in such a good like mental state right now, just doing the affirmations. And she talks about the physical ailments and how it's related to, we all have the spiritual root cause when we have some sort of dis-ease in our body, right? So for skin conditions, it often comes down, a lot of people with skin conditions are very sensitive, have a lot of anxiety as well. And it all comes down, well, in my specific, I don't want to tell for everyone, but comes down to feeling not safe and secure in his world, in his physical world. And for me, the biggest insights was the relationship between why eczema. Like, I started to lay down in bed in my worst days, and I started to see my timeline of when I was born as a baby and what at all the events, because I went through a lot of childhood traumas. I started to see all the puzzle pieces why I got sick in the first place. Like, what was the emotional relationship between the eczema and the all the symptoms and the events, and being in this fight or flight mode since I was born. Because I moved a lot of homes. Like, I was separated from my mom when I was 2 weeks old, and then I did a lot of searching about diet. But then I noticed food is just one part of my healing journey, and then the spiritual and emotional aspect came as well, because you start to open up more where you eat like natural human food, like fruits and the raw foods and stuff. And then I started to start to see the skin conditions can be very connected to separation issues. And I was separated from my mom when I was 2 weeks old. At first, it was when I was 21. I started the withdrawal from the medication when I was 19. But when I was 21, I did a spoken word performance about my childhood. I got this project that I was able to join in my city back in the Netherlands. And then was the burnout came. And then everything literally came out even more, because I had the realization that I was that baby that was separated from my parents. When my dad I didn't know. So then I realized how much of an effect that followed me through my whole life up until now. I'm now 24. And that gave me peace in a way, because then could work on the root cause, like the real root, not only the food, like eating vegetables, because it was very bad in stages when I was using, and it was not. At first, I thought it was detox. No, of course that is a part, but it's actually emotional cleansing. What was happening on a very, very deep level. Um, yeah, I don't know if that's a clear answer, but it's just so much to tell.
No, definitely, definitely. Yeah, thank you for answering that, because, I didn't even know the correlation, the connection and the link between abandonment, that trauma, the emotions and all of that, and these issues like with eczema and our emotions and skin and our sensation, like all these things that we felt or we didn't feel, or that happened to us. It's like, wow, to be able to see that connection now, to be able to connect the dots looking back with the reflection,
Yeah.
And to now have this new direction. I just love that you see your progression. You see that, like, things have evolved, things have gone through, and you're 24. You're so young.
Yes,
You're so young, like 24. You have your
wait.
whole life ahead of you.
But I also am an old soul. Like, I also feel like people all say, "Oh, you're so mature for your age," but it's a combination between like providing for yourself at a young age, but it's also your personality, your spirit. Like, what is your approach with all? How are you? What is your perspective, or how are you going to face those challenges? No matter if it's in your childhood, of course, more difficult because you have less life experience. But in the end, if you have a strong spirit, you turn in the end everything like positive, and you're brave enough to face those fears, like your biggest fears. And it's very painful and very lonely at times, especially when your surroundings don't understand. For example, changing your diet to a diet. Maybe 1% is vegan in this world, and I think people that eat raw foods is even like I started to go in the rabbit hole with fruits and veggies, but it cleanses your spirit. It's crazy. The more I realize simplicity is key, and going back to nature, but that's scary because you find a lot of stillness, and you find your true self, and you find the imperfections, and so it definitely takes a lot of courage and self-acceptance, and self-love is when the real healing start to happen. Really, that comes down to why we get sick in the first place: self-acceptance, yeah, feeling safe and secure, like I told you as well, like feeling safe in this world, and yeah, love yourself.
Mhm. No, I agree. I agree, Nediya. You know, self-love, self-care, self-acknowledgement, self-acceptance, self-esteem, self-image, self-worthiness. You know, there's so much that goes into the self. You know, just the perception of self, it gets us on so many levels. So when you talked before, Nediya, about Louise Hay and you know the affirmations and the recitation of information that changed your vibration. If someone was going through similar circumstances, but they didn't know that they could speak certain things into existence or write things down or listen to things, these words of affirmation, do you still have a few in your memory banks that you used during those difficult times?
Mm. Well, Louise Hay specifically, the one that I now use is with gratitude and self-love as well. And she always first says, affirm, like, I approve of myself. And for example, she also speak about wealth, especially the self-acceptance part, I think. But I'm a writer. Like, I'm just like you. That's why I wanted to connect so bad. Like, I like poetry, and the more it can be very emotional or it's very close to you when you, for example, I also play piano, but it's all coming from, I don't have a genre, but it's all coming from my true emotions and feeling. Very, are connected with the higher source or whatever you want to call it. Everything comes out, and all the answers you will find. So I might make my own affirmations, but it depends on the stage that I was in. But it's like I am capable of, I would write down also a list of all my talents and gifts, because it was very clear at one point, oh, I'm a writer, I'm a poet, I'm very social, communication, artistic. But that helped me a lot. And also, what did I say? I said so many things. It's been years, so it was mostly about self acceptance or my abilities, that I had a purpose. I started to see mm, found my purpose by making a mind map and making a vision board, but also just digging deep, like, what are my priorities in life? What environment do I want to be in? What kind of job suits me? But it's not about job. I turned my words into job as purpose work,
Mm.
know? And yeah, having a direction, a vision, a very and when you tune in with your highest self, the right vision, right place. Because I didn't have the money, I was very sick, and I still make it happen to travel wherever, and like knowing about manifestation, and yeah, yeah. If I can do it, yeah, everyone can do it, because no money, no health. There's no reason to wait until the perfect time. You know, it's taking responsibility as well and getting out of the victim mentality, and forgive yourself and your parents as well if you had a difficult childhood. That they did the best that they could at that time, and yeah, really see their struggles. And you know, when you face trauma with your parents or whatever, your family,
Yeah.
very that gave me most peace as well. Forgiveness.
Okay, forgiveness is big. That's a huge one. That's a huge one. You know, forgiveness for ourselves, for others, for just forgiveness all around. That's a huge one. And you know, thank you for that affirmation. You said, "I approve of myself. I approve of myself." Wow, wow.
And
So, mhm.
because we all talk about self-love, or you see those YouTube videos, because I do think in the end people are attracted to healing themselves in different ways. We do want to eat healthier. We do know a smoothie is better for us. We do know affirmations can help, or meditation, but it's scary. It's new as well. And then when you see all those videos about self-love, you have to feel it to understand. Because it's very easy to have the knowledge, or to have to give advice to your friends, but to really sit still with yourself, or do the mirror work and say, I love you. How many people can do that without feeling uncomfortable? I'm still not there. What you look, especially when I dealt with all the skin stuff and not recognizing myself in the physical like, appearance, and then say, I approve of myself and look into the mirror. Whoa, if you can do that without feeling uncomfortable and start your day and you're like, let's go, I can do whatever I set my mind to, then you are, I think, far in your journey without comparing. That's the worst thing you can do as well, comparing to other people's journey.
Right. Comparison, they say it's the thief of joy. We rob ourselves of our joy when we're constantly, dreaming of the person we wish to be and wasting the one we are, by comparing ourselves. That constant comparison game, it leads us to guilt and to shame, and even blame with that constant game of comparison. So, especially, with social media, these things are kind of emphasized and heightened ever more when you scrolling down the timeline and you're just constantly thinking about all the things. But I love these affirmations that you're talking about, these loving words to yourself when you're looking at yourself, gazing at yourself in the mirror, Nediya. And you remind me, there's a lady, a famous speaker named Lisa Nichols, and she's one of the law of attraction ladies from The movie The Secret. And she talked about talking to yourself in the mirror and these transformative words to say, I forgive you for, I'm proud of you for, and I promise you that, like I forgive you for this, I'm proud of you for this, and I promise you this, like I make this pledge to you, and you're doing it to yourself, like it's just you, and it's so healing. Yeah.
Words are so powerful because I feel like I'm in such a good vibration, however you want to call it, because I wake up with happy thoughts, with empowering thoughts, self-loving thoughts, and I go to sleep very good thoughts. And my bad habits, for example, everyone has their addictions. We are also about chronic lifestyle, and I doubt myself when I started into this journey, eating lighter and lighter and eating less and less, because now people are sometimes making comments, oh, you get too skinny. But the less I ingest, the more I actually, all the answers come, that's a whole different topic, of course, and you know about this journey. But that's actually where I find stillness and peace, and that's why in every religion, fasting and just natural volume of foods is so encouraged to do in different types of ways. But that helped me a lot as well because it's so you just connect with yourself.
Yeah.
When you remove the addictions, the TV on the background, sit in stillness, and that's so scary for people to do. It was so scary for me. I was always around people, and this forced me to go in isolation mode. That's why I'm all about the butterflies. I've been seeing butterflies since I came to Bangkok. I was so scared, I was so anxious. And I started still almost daily. I see butterflies. It's transformation. It's now my time to spread the wings.
Yeah.
Because seriously, the cocoon stage is it can take years for people, but it's beautiful how we can relate to certain animals, how it's related to everyone has their own specific animal and their own timeline, I think, but I see it's so relatable, yeah, for me.
Absolutely. Very relatable, on all levels, that chrysalis process, that cocoon, the metamorphosis of just becoming a brand new being, completely different from the start. I think we were talking, it was Maya Angelou that said something to the effect of, we marvel at the beauty of the butterfly, but we forget, the struggle, like the process that she had to go through to become what she is now. We see the glory, but we don't know her story.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I don't, speak less, do more, but because it's a bit confronting to still, like I'm a writer, I actually plan to, or I'm already writing my book because I had this vision as well, because in the end it was, as a child, it was always clear from the teachers, and I was not a difficult child, but I had my traumas, I was a bit different than other children. Now I embrace it, and I appreciate it so much that I was a bit different. But it was always very clear, and I got a lot of compliments about my writing. I'm just naturally a good writer. And then I thought my whole life journey and then going through this process, I should write a book about my journey because it's not only about skin conditions. It's about really want to bring spiritual aspects and emotional aspects into one book, implementing with certain like small poetry stories as well. I have this whole plan. I have 11 chapters. I have the whole structure, but I've been delaying a little bit. But it's going to be called the girl with the broken skin, but heals herself from within. So I'm going to have a journey from my childhood trauma, being raised in foster care, because it's also not the average story from a child growing up with foster family and group homes and the system and people that I meet along the way during my travels to say, you have actually such an interesting story, you should write a book. And I said, I'm already planning to do that. So I think everything is aligning for me, that it's a shame, like if I leave this earth, when I leave this earth, I will blame myself if I not write this book, I really hope to inspire people all over the world to, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. We need it. We need it. I can't wait to read it. We need it. It's like, say it one more time, Nediya. You said the girl with the broken skin that changed from within. Can you say that again?
Girl with a broken skin who has now healed herself from within. Yeah.
I love that. I
I
love
can share the poem that I already wrote on the cover, or my main poem for in the book. Oh, the heart.
I love that. I love that. That healed herself from within. That's beautiful. That's powerful. That's powerful. Just the ability for the body to heal itself is powerful. The ability for us to regenerate, the ability for us to just have that wholeness, just to rebalance, to rekindle that flame within us and to be sustained from within us. You said before, Nediya, that you were finding your purpose and that you discovered your purpose. Would you briefly talk about like what you found that is for you? Like what did you discover? This is my purpose. Yeah.
For me personally, you never know how life is going to turn out, right? But when you speak with yourself, I 100% believe as a child, children are very pure and very connected still to themselves, even if they have difficult upbringings. I was always very intuitive, maybe because I needed to protect myself in ways as well. But I always knew. Now I really knew that's writing, that I was a good speaker, and I started to bind all those gifts and talents. I believe every child has specific gifts, like one is very good at painting or communication or can be anything. And for me, it's the creative, artistic side. And then I realized, okay, I have this foundation, even though right now I don't study, I don't have the money, I'm sick. This is where I'm going to start from here with my writing and what do I want to share? And then I realized I don't have a typical childhood story. And I realized, oh, I can really inspire people because I already do that. But just talking naturally, or I will be a good coach, but I had such low self-esteem and low self-worth. So we first need to heal that part of ourselves to provide. But for me, when I was very in my bad stages, I don't know if it's God or universe, whatever I want to call it, I got the vision to perform as a motivational, inspiring like speaker, storyteller, poet as well, but mainly the inspirational speaking. Worldwide, I started to see a vision that I play piano, and piano is nice, but in the end, it's my voice because I've always my voice came out more when I started to express myself more authentically, get more confidence, embrace my true self. So my main vision is travel around the world, writing inspiring books, either my stories or people from different countries with very like individuals that have something very interesting to share but are not able to write it themselves. And yeah, do like storytelling and motivational speak worldwide in the US. I know 100% it's going to happen. Yeah. I don't know how. That's why I keep living and got the strength to overcome this, mainly because of the clear visions that I got during prayer and meditation. And that all the time. that I can be at service at one point, and that I'm already at service just by being me.
Absolutely.
And I think people don't realize they are good enough just as they are already.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is so powerful. You know, they say like whenever we get nervous, just focus on service. You know, if we ever get nervous, just focus on purpose. Right? So,
In place, you know,
yeah.
we keep improving. We just should not be too scared to make mistakes. I don't like that word mistakes. I call it experience, learning experience.
Right. It's all a learning, you know, it's all a yearning. You know, your throat chakra is so open. I love this because even what you say, you see happening in the future, it's already happening now.
Yes.
You know, right now, live, like in this live, you're already motivationally speaking, you're already inspirationally speaking, like you're making the choice to use your voice right now, you know? Yeah, so it's happening that we have the same manifestation, we have the same affirmation, and we're seeing confirmation of all the love that you put into yourself, Nediya. Like all those times where you know you boosted yourself up when no one else was around you. I can only imagine, you know, like a completely, you know, empty stadium and you're the only one in the bleachers, you know, you're the only one in the stands, like cheering you on, telling yourself you can do it, you got this, you know. And now you're seeing that, you know, you never gave up. You never gave up. Yeah.
Actually, my name means hope. Nadia means hope. And
Wow.
I didn't know that when I was 14 or 15. Someone told me, no, not even my mom,
Yeah.
because my name actually, but I don't have contact with my biological mom. But she gave me the name Nadia, and it means hope. And when I was 15, I knew that it meant this thing, and I was group homes back in the time, very stressful. And I know that I didn't have much to rely on, but I was just focusing on hope, hope, hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, like, I was like questioning, and like, why the heck am I on this earth if I suffer all the time? I don't have the family, or don't have the money, or don't, you know, in a stressful state 24/7. But then, yeah, I always knew I was going to do something big. And now with this illness, with this condition, it was becoming stronger and stronger.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew, or I know I'm going to do something big. I don't know. I just have this feeling,
You do.
and
Yes. Yes. I see it. It's happening. It's all happening. You know, I love that you say that. And thank you for bringing in that translation of your name, Nadia. You know, hope, one of my friends told me years back, he said, hope is an acronym for holding on to positive energy. Holding on to positive energy. That's hope, you know,
wow,
and that's you've done that. You know, you when you had nothing else to hold on to, you held on to that positive. You just knew that things would change. You know, you just knew it didn't have to be the same. You knew it didn't have to remain, and you embraced it. You know, you faced it.
also
Right?
know deserve better when you start to practice that self-love and
Hmm.
self, like I deserve. They know this is not forever, and you know you are coming. I was never doing bad things to people. I know I have like a good heart, and if you start to know that, you start from there. You know it's all about the lesson that needs to be learned, or the things that needs to be faced. Like it makes sense that I got sick, but it's such, oh, I had such a difficult childhood. But yeah, it was very complicated. It's the truth. I acknowledge it. It's just the truth. So it makes sense. That's when the acceptance of the illness, like the disease, yeah, the self acceptance of being sick, it might take years. You might not be able to study or live life like different people, other people from your age, like young adults. But in the end, I'm so grateful because now I live in Southeast Asia. I live now a raw lifestyle. I can have the best fruits here. I don't need much money at this moment. You don't need much. And when you heal yourself, whatever you go through, you realize less is more. It doesn't mean you deserve not like the luxurious house, but I realize all those like consuming things, I don't care. And that gives peace for my whole life ahead of me. That I need so little to be happy. You become very humble as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that humility piece is huge. You know that just knowing, wow, how much do I really need? And just that feeling of contentment, that feeling of how can less be more, you know? And how can I explore like how less can be more? You know, there's just so many ways that we can receive and realize we have all that we need, you know? So I love this conversation when you're talking about, you know, addictions, things that we battle with. Like I said, I've never been to Thailand, so I don't know how it is over there. But here in the States, you know, here in America, it's pretty rampant, you know, the addiction, the constant fast food, the have it quick, the have it instant, the gratification of the sensation of the, you know, all of that stuff is very, very prevalent and very normalized. So, what was one of the most challenging things for you to let go when it came to feeling more energy and feeling more flow for yourself?
To be honest, my coping mechanisms were the same as my mom, which is very interesting. Which is well, the isolation part. But I always struggle with everyone struggle with food addiction. Let's make that a fact. But everyone has to, especially people with trauma, they are more prone to get like food addiction or cigarette addiction or whatever. For me, it was the food addiction, but emotional eating, I would say. It was never like severe eating disorder, luckily, but it was getting very not, it was just emotional eating, binge eating. But then when I started to eat like raw foods, it's very hard to there's a difference between emotional eating and being addicted to stimulating things like salt and the junk food, processed foods.
Mm-hmm.
Meat, I'm not dogmatic with no meat. I was in the beginning very like, dairy is bad, meat is bad, but I never know what's going to happen in the upcoming years. I'm very open-minded in every aspect of my life because I like to be free.
Mm-hmm.
But it all made sense that if you just eat like fruits and like the raw foods, your emotional channels, everything starts to open up, like the chakras, everything, the scary things, but also the most beautiful things that you never felt before. So for me, I'm not going to lie. When I was here, anxiety is the biggest trigger for the emotional eating.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in March, I didn't know many people here, and it was very scary for me also to overcome the mental part of not that it might be helpful the treatments, and I started to see results, but the anxiety of being sick for so long is so scary to live your life again, to go outside, to not sleep all day every day. I had no life anymore. I was so done. So I came here. But then in March, I'm not going to lie, I was eating things like cookies, something not even vegan. I do believe that maybe even dark forces or whatever things were pulling me back because I knew because they knew I was, maybe it sounds silly, but they knew I was getting out of the like this chapter of healing, like the big healing, and I know I would be unstoppable once I was healed. I know that the power then is so become so strong as it is right now that I will manifest in very quick ways. You know, very maybe it sounds crazy, but the emotional eating very hard the first few months. Yeah, eating cookies and because here in Bangkok, everyone I realize is so obsessed with food in cities. It's crazy. Food everywhere. And I'm just having my herbal teas or my juices. I'm good, but still, I have to be aware of the thought patterns and my limited beliefs because it's not when I'm hungry that I want to eat those dense foods. It's always when I'm, mm, um, yeah, mainly having the anxiety. Yeah, feeling unsafe and insecure, not being present. Those three are triggers me to, yeah, to self harm yourself because I didn't know any better since I was born using food. So it's a process. So
Okay.
I share. I'm not scared of sharing that I even this year ate junk food or because I know it was a shift that you never know, but I never want to go back to that place.
Right.
I want to stay on this path and feel lighter, and because everything then flows when
Yeah.
it's not worth it. It's
No.
not worth it.
We see that, you know, and I've been in the same place. You know, there were many times I was in that same place where I was eating things that I had never even eaten before. You know, like certain addictions were popping up out of nowhere, cropping up out of nowhere, and just like it was emotional. It was really emotional, you know? So I love that you have that awareness with anxiety now, and that you've adapted to that awareness to know, okay, if this is triggering me, like, let me just, you know, come back a little bit, like bring myself back, maybe even tune in with the breath, or find out how to deal with this emotion and feel with this emotion without having to, you know, stuff it down or suppress it, or, you know, be depressed with something that we don't have to. So when you're around other people now, like you say, the obsession is widespread. Can you now be around others without being tempted, without having that compulsion within you to want to have something? Can you be around others who are consuming all the time?
Very easy, actually, very easy. Because for me, it's an emotional. If I'm very present and in flow, as I am right now, and today even at lunch, or people go to a restaurant, a Thai restaurant. The thing is, I'm not going to lie. I'm still. I think I have some sort of. I don't know if it's. I have to be careful with my words here, but I would say, this addictive personality. I'm very bad with the moderation. Some people can do that. I don't know how they can do it. Maybe it's also a mental part. But if I start with having, I don't know, sugar or salt, or it is tricky, yes, because my system is also so sensitive right now after being on like mostly natural foods all the time, especially raw. So for me, the temptation is actually only there when I'm anxious, when I'm maybe even more alone, because when I'm connecting, like with you and having those meaningful conversations, I get all the energy that I need.
Yes.
It keeps me in this sole purpose timeline. And maybe it sounds like, but if you know, you know.
Yes.
You are free for food all the time. We are now, I'm on liquids, and the thing also, don't force yourself. We go through different stages. If you really feel like you need an avocado right now, be aware if it's the emotional need or the body actually requires this specific nutrient.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very important to tune in with our people tell about. And did you ever saw intuitive eating on the Instagram, and then people eat cookies and all kinds of processed foods? Or when people overcome their eating disorder, for example, they have anorexia, and then they will say everything in moderation now, and this is what I eat in a day. But if you still eat all processed junks and donuts and stuff, I don't judge at all, but that's for me not a healthy relationship with food, because it's not food. It's so normalized. Everyone to their own, but for me it doesn't work. I need to cut it out completely.
Right.
And I'm crazy, but I'm not the only one. Some people need to go 100% raw, or just no salt, or you have to really feel and not listen to other people. Yeah. With this.
I agree. I agree, Nediya. You know, like we have really different definitions and different perceptions when it comes to what we put on our plate. You know, like some people say this is food, while we say this is not for human consumption. You know, like this is not even, we
But
can't even
those
call
are
it.
facts. Those are facts. Everyone with common sense, they justify their addictions or their emotion needs or their normalized things in society. But we all know a hamburger is not food. What is in it? Like, I don't judge, but sometimes I get triggered because I know if they just don't do it, I just want to live in freedom. That's the thing. I've been less. That's my main individual purpose, is having freedom. Be free from all addictions. It's not worth it, because mangoes, they don't taste so nice. It's natural. It's juice. It's what, there's so much variety with healthy food. Why, if it's compromising my life or holding my back, holding me back from my manifestations and my healing practices like meditation. When I'm stuffed, I cannot meditate. When I'm fasting or on liquids, I get a lot of clarity, answers. I receive exactly at the right time the things, and then anxiety naturally fades away.
Naturally, yeah. And you said something as well, Nadia, that you is so resonant. I resonate with you on so many levels with this. And it's like that conversation cuisine, you know, it's that that connection consciousness of the communication vibration of just having a wonderful and nourishing engagement. that it satiates you at a cellular level. You just feel full. You come away energized. You feel full, you know? Yeah.
People have a very different perspective of what is fullness. Because also a lot of people don't feel satisfied when they start to eat lighter and lighter because they think they need to feel this heavy feeling and go to bed with this. That's why I don't like cooked food anymore. It might taste nice, but it's just I cannot sleep well. I feel more restless, and sometimes it is nice because you feel a bit more sleepy. Sometimes now I'm on liquids, especially herbal teas, doing a bit of fasting, and I woke up at 4:44 actually, and I did meditation. And I just realized when you're on liquids, you know, of course, you don't need so much sleep.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, a lot of benefits. It's so worth leaving those addictions. It's so worth if you take the time to get all those insights about, yeah, life in general.
Absolutely. So many more. So, just in this conversation, I feel like we could have a whole nother one. And like there's so many things that we could touch on. This was just really scratching the surface. But thank you so much just for your testimony today, for your touching, your wisdom, your knowledge, your expertise, and also the trials that you've overcome, the adversity, the obstacles that you overcame to be where you are now. Like that testimony is so powerful. And, if somebody's listening to you, Nediya, and they're wondering to themselves, like, wow, I love this girl. I love what she's about. I love like the transformation. I love her vibration. I want to learn more about her, or maybe even get any of her offerings or her services, or just connect with her to tune in. Where can people go to find more of you? Yeah.
I would love to help people, not only with skin conditions. For me, the major healing started with like getting this specific thing. That's my specific journey, but just also about high sensitivity and just so many things, childhood trauma, not living with your family, or I don't know. I love helping people, you know. And that's the thing. When I talk with you right now, I realize just our stories, just being us, just being in tune with ourselves, which gives us all the knowledge from above, or how you want to call it. Because sometimes I write poetry. I don't know if that's for you, but because it's so intuitively, I write. I look back at it and like, is this me having all this knowledge? Where does this come from? And that's so beautiful that we have specifically the poetry that gives us all the answers from our, from within.
Right.
But
I
yeah,
agree.
you motivate me to actually do more lives because it kept me, the skin problem kept me holding back sharing things because I was so still insecure, and still a little bit. It's like your body, I still need to learn how to, yeah, like move my body again and be more active, and because it's a lot of physical trauma I've been through over the years, like crazy, but I don't let fear hold me back by helping people just by being me.
Right. You don't let it hold you back, you don't let it get you down. So, should people just go to your Instagram to connect with you, or do you have a separate website, or is this the place where you'd like people to be in tune with you?
So for now, I have this Instagram page like Shy with Fruits,
Okay.
and I'm active on my Facebook, Nediya Hope. But for the rest, because now I had different priorities before, right? But now I feel I'm coming out of the hard stage. I'm re-entering, like starting this website where I start to share travel blogs in combination actually with life experience that I have, I would say. And in the end, I wanted to do coaching for years now, but I realized I was not there yet. And I also just want to provide everything for free because it's not about money. I think wealth or abundance or whatever, it will come in the right time. And now it's really about providing for people. So the website will come hopefully in the upcoming months. I can work on that, but no pressure for me.
Right.
Take my time. But
Take your time.
Instagram is best. Nediya Hope or Shine with Fruits. You can talk whatever. I'm also a caller. Like I talk with strangers worldwide, having video calls. I get very much joy from connecting with people.
Awesome.
That brings me self-healing.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, beautiful, Nediya. Right before we go, I just want to read this for you real quick. So Marlita, she just put a comment, a lovely comment up here for you. She's been listening to you, and she said, Nediya, you are so wise. I didn't hear your story from the beginning, but what I have heard so far, I see you, I see your beauty, I see your intelligence, your inspiration. Keep up the positive energy. So that was for you. That was for you.
Sometimes it's still weird to receive those positive comments. Like, do I deserve it? But then the mind is tricking me. Like, you are worthy. We're all worthy of like connecting with each other and being loved, being cared for, and inspiring each other by just being us. So it can be so simple. Life can be simple, right?
Yeah.
We make it complicated.
Absolutely. So take care. Till next time, my friend. Till next time, let's do this again soon.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I'm grateful for our talk. Seriously. We have many things to talk about.
Many things. All right. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.